Hey, it's Kyle with Prezi Productions and Design, and today I have another fun video for you. As you see here, here's a map of the United States, and every state that has the color red is somewhere where I've been throughout my life. I've been to 31 states plus the District of Columbia. We've all seen maps like this, either on the side of an RV, maybe on someone's refrigerator, and I've been, filling in one of these ever since I was a kid. I love geography, and this map was always fun to fill in, where you've been. I wanted to take this map, but really dive one step further and see exactly where I've been across the United States. So with this map here, I took a couple weeks and talked to my parents, went over some old photos, and recapped every trip that I can remember. And I would say this is within 99% accuracy. I was the kid who always sat in the backseat of the car with the interstate map, lining up every 10 mile markers to the map and looking at every city. So I have a very good memory of all the trips and the roadways we took on different trips to Florida or Texas or Colorado. And going out to Colorado, there's one main interstate, so it's not like that was really in question. But when you really dive into the counties where I've been, it really starts to take shape what living in the Midwest looks like your entire life. This is Christian County, where I lived from when I was 0 to 27 years old. And without a major city within 2.5 to 3 hours minimum, you do a lot of driving from there, and I think that really starts to show. The second city I've lived in from when I was 28 to now 31 is Larimer County, Colorado, and I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I've lived here for 4 years. So you can start to see how that has influenced my local travel in this area too. But starting back here in Christian County, the orange county is the county I've specifically lived in. The yellow counties is where I've had immediate family, either brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and you can kind of see where my family has lived basically since I was born. And this is that I-44 corridor, eventually takes you all the way up to Chicago, and then this area is St. Genevieve in eastern Missouri, right on the Mississippi. So growing up in Christian County, I found myself a lot of times making small trips down to Arkansas, northern Arkansas, where there's a lot of rock climbing, fishing, rivers, and then also northwest Arkansas was Fayetteville, and I had a lot of jobs that I worked down there. I also found myself going through Arkansas with family and basically taking trips all the way down to Florida. We took a ton of different routes, different interstates. The main one we took would take us through the edge of Memphis and then down to Jackson, over to Mobile, Alabama, and then we go across the Panhandle. We usually hang out down here in Florida. I've driven all the way to Orlando. I've actually flown in to this area. We went to Jupiter, Florida to watch spring training baseball. Miami is this area. I've been to Naples and all along the coast here. All in all, I've visited Florida pretty much the most out of any state with the exception of Arkansas, just being so close to Arkansas. Living out here in Colorado, it's really opened up my door to the Northwest, but once you look at the map, it really feels like you've seen more. Like it felt on these long drives through Wyoming and then into Utah, I felt like I've seen a lot more, and really seeing it per county, you realize, man, I've visited less places than I thought. So looking at this map, I really want to get up, obviously, to Yellowstone and Jackson Hole area, and maybe I'll get a good drive through Wyoming up to here and add a little bit more to the map. Up here, I went with one of my best friends to Seattle. We took a day trip. We went to Mount St. Helens and down to Portland. Looking down here in the southwest region of the United States, I visited San Diego, and obviously we flew into the airport. Same with Las Vegas. We flew into Las Vegas, and we didn't get outside of Carson County. And then down here is Phoenix, Arizona. Though I did travel quite a bit around Phoenix, I still only visited one county. When I was 15 years old, I went with my brother and dad to watch spring training minor league baseball, and we actually flew into Brownsville, Texas, and we are right on the border, and we went to a couple counties, went to the beach out there, just really far south. I think it's the farthest south you can get other than Key West. Living in the Midwest for most of my years, you can really see how the car dictates some of the travel you do. I've driven all the way up to Des Moines. We've driven I-44 and then up to Chicago. I mentioned the trips down to Florida, But look at the trips I've done to Texas. I've been to Austin 4 times, drove all 4 times, and we took this same highway. And it's funny, when I went down to Houston, I had to call my dad and ask, and the only time we drove to Houston, we went through Little Rock, and then this path down, and eventually down to Galveston Bay. And I overlaid the interstate maps with all the state maps, and granted, there could have been a detour, but like I said, I spent a lot of time, and I think this is within 99% accuracy. We flew into Louisiana and actually took a cruise ship and went out. There's a canal or river that takes you out into the ocean, so that's why this small section of Louisiana is marked. These 4 counties here that I've yet to mention were all just airports that I stopped in for layovers. Detroit was on my way to London. Charlotte was on my way back from London. This was Cincinnati Airport, but I believe you fly actually into Kentucky. And this was on a trip. We flew to Florida, and then we were flying back into St. Louis. And then this last section of the country, the Northeast here, New York City, Philadelphia, Ocean City, Maryland. I've been to New York City once, but I've been to Philadelphia twice, only one time down to like Ocean City, and this was a recent trip that I took. So when we compare these 2 maps side by side, the one on the left, 31 out of 50 states, that's 62%, plus Washington, D.C., it really looks like I've been to a large portion of the United States, and I bet a lot of people would feel the same way, but when you break it down to counties, and me specifically growing up in the Midwest, like I said, 3 hours away from a large airport, we did a lot of driving. And I think driving in the car for 14 hours down to Florida, you see a lot of the countryside. I would just look out the window. And I think that's why when I would think of the map on the left, why maybe I felt like I had been to more parts of the country than I really have. I've only been to 13% of the counties. So that really got me thinking. I really had traveled more than I had thought across the United States. So I put together the number of visits that I've done to each place. And I think this helped me feel a little bit better about my experience traveling across the country, even though a lot of the times it was the same destinations. I went to Arkansas and Colorado over 15 times, and that was prior to living in Colorado when I turned 28 years old. I went to Florida 10 to 15 times. I'd mentioned a lot of the major cities I had been to. In addition, I'd also been to Tampa Bay. I'd driven the entire Panhandle, including 301A. It's a beautiful highway. Alabama and Mississippi get lumped in there just because we drove over 10 times, and that was just part of the drive. Then you have Illinois, Oklahoma, and Texas, which I visited 5 to 10 times. Illinois was right at 5 times, while Texas was, I think, 7 or 8 times. Oklahoma, I went through a couple times for work and back, so that was closer to maybe 10 times. Utah and Nevada, I went to twice. The whole West Coast, I've only been to once. North Dakota, I didn't mention on the county map. I was up in Bismarck, North Dakota, and then we went all the way up and saw the giant turtle on the sled right up there on the border. The light green was one visit only, and that was flights that I had mentioned. 2 were international flights. And then on the East Coast there, I've been to New Jersey and Pennsylvania twice. I hope you guys liked this video. I had a lot of fun doing this. It helped me think about a lot of trips I've been on, helped me just remember just a lot of the family vacations and drives we took. Thanks for watching.